efficient you become? Do you know how many times more efficient you become if you keep improving yourself 1% every day? You will become 37 times more efficient than what you are there today. Can you imagine? So efficiency of 3700%. And if you simply become 1% lesser or worse every day, and that is how you keep continuing your entire day, entire year, you end up becoming almost 33 times less efficient, which is 0.03 times of what you were originally. So this is called the power of compounding. So my dear friends, I want to urge each one of you attending today that please don't neglect small and tiny changes in your life, which can actually eventually lead to huge differences. like 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 I'll give you a very simple example, like feeling grateful for someone has done something for us. So you may think that, okay, if I don't say a small thank you, what will happen? But you will realize that after years and years, that habit can earn you good name and good success at many places. So it may be a very small thing, it may just take 5 seconds to acknowledge that. Like something like maintaining your finances. Okay, how much money am I spending? Like, okay, this day today I spent money this much, so every month how much am I spending? You may think that, okay, even if I don't keep track of that, still I am going to spend that money because I'm purchasing whatever I need. But I'll tell you very honestly that if you keep a track, you will realize very soon that you are wasting a lot of money uselessly. How many of you can tell me in the chat box that you had experience that you opened Amazon or you opened Flipkart or you opened Snapdeal or whatever earlier was there? So you have opened these websites and you thought you opened it for a particular purpose, to purchase maybe something. You thought to purchase a mobile, and you ended up purchasing a headset, you ended up purchasing something else which looked attractive, you ended up purchasing something which promised a lot of discount. How many of you have ever experienced something like this, that you browse the internet for some purpose? You thought that I'm going to use internet for solving my assignment, and you ended up 3-4 hours down the line, you seeing all kinds of documentaries or videos or movies or Netflix or so many things which you really didn't know, didn't need, right? So okay, so Vipul says because he has to take permission from his father for payment, so he could not do extravagant spending. But I'll tell you that when you will start earning, and that time when you don't have need permission of your father, then you will realize what I'm saying. So that's why it is very important to become 1% better every day, and that will slowly eventually give a huge difference in our lives. Something like, I can suggest some things, like before end of the day, like before you take rest, just have a habit of reading 2 minutes some book. Just 2 minutes, just 2 pages, one page, or one shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Just try it. And you will see Bhagavad Gita has how many shlokas? 700 shlokas. You will finish the entire of the Bhagavad Gita simply by reading one shloka a day in 2 years. In 2 years' time, you will read the entire of the Bhagavad Gita, and that too, not in your regular time, just before sleeping, you read for 10 minutes. It's these. So if you can see, because sleep we are going to do, if you can pile up your habits just before something which you compulsory will do, or do a small 5 minutes exercise just before your breakfast, or yoga just before your breakfast, or as soon as you get up, meditate for 5 minutes. Do something like this. Add up these small things. Don't think that 2 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of reading book, what help will it do? But over the years you will realize that it does a lot of change, because the effect of compounding is like that. Okay, the second is, let's let's recognize what is our personality type. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 personality types mentioned. One is Sattva Guna, one is Rajo Guna, and one is Tamo Guna. And Sattva Guna can be also called as mode of goodness, Rajo Guna mode of passion, and Tamo Guna mode of ignorance. Now I'll tell you what are the characteristics of mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness mentioned in the Gita. You see, whenever we are predominated by ignorance, we will feel lazy, we will want to oversleep, we may be inattentive in our work, we may start postponing things, deadlines. Generally, whenever an assignment is given in college, what is the first question which students start asking to each other? Yes, all of you students, can you quickly tell me what is the first thing you start asking when you get an assignment? Okay, submission date, deadline, right? And the second question is, from where do I copy it? I don't know, at least in my college days, this was too common. I think the practice still continues. History repeats itself. Whenever we had to fill any exam form like NEET or JEE, any form you had to fill, what is the first question which people will ask? The last date for submission, right? The last date, when is the last date? Something like that. So this is called postponing tendency. Hopelessness. Sometimes people become hopeless. Some people start becoming depressed. You will be shocked to know the statistics of suicide rate in the world, that more people kill themselves than what the all world wars put together have killed. What all wars have killed people, much more than that people have killed themselves. It means people have committed suicides much more. Like from the time we began this session, maybe around 10 people, according to the statistics, I think it is 1 per minute or something like that. So more than 10 people would have committed suicide. Can you imagine? This is all because of being in mode of ignorance, madness. Some people, they don't have any alternatives and they go for intoxication, smoking, and all that. So this is, they say gum ka sathi rum, but what rum is giving you, what sath is giving, rum is giving you, after the effect is gone, you are more into trouble because of drinking and because of not having the issue get solved. No proper thinking, panicking, fearful, insecure. Like I remember watching a movie called as Three Idiots. How many of you also have watched this? Our time, this was a very famous movie. All of you must have also watched this very famous movie. So in that, I remember that one guy was so insecure during exams that he would try to distract his other like college mates by putting some unwanted magazines and sensuous magazines into their rooms, and that is how he would try to distract them. So this is insecure, right? He's insecure, he's indecisive, he doesn't know. Like sometimes I hear students, they sit for studies and they say half an hour or 1 hour goes in wondering from where do I start, which subject do I study, or when do I study, and how long I study. So many confusions, indecisive. People start acting foolishly. They are confused, they are lazy. So this is mode of ignorance. Then comes mode of passion. Mode of passion is characterized by lot of lot of hankering for getting something, lot of thirst to get something, and attraction towards something attractive. Especially male and female attraction is a special characteristic in mode of passion. So people become over ambitious, people want to show glamour, want to see glamour, want to like they compete, they have cutthroat competitions, they are proud, uh, falsely proud, have false egos. They become angry if their word is not done. They consider themselves individual players, they cannot work in a team. They sometimes feel envious. They have a thirst for honor and prestige. They have bossing over tendency, and they're attached to whatever they do. Take quick snap decisions without considering much well. what the consequences will be. So these are mode of passion. And then there is mode of goodness, where people live a clean life, a regulated life, a sattvic life, a simple life, a thought, they are more thoughtful. So this is simple living and high thinking. They think well and then decide. They are noble and saintly in their character. They're creative at their work. They're tolerant, they're submissive, they're friendly, they're calm, clear, composed, controlled in their senses. They are not distracted, they're focused, they're forgiving, they are in wisdom, they're disciplined, they're obedient. So these are the shlokas. So the chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, the chapter name is Modes of Material Nature. And essentially, what the entire chapter talks is about mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And how do we become to mode of goodness, and how do we even cross mode of goodness and come to transcendence? That is what the chapter deals with. Now, this is the shloka. I'll just recite one or two shlokas. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakasham anamayam sukha sangena badnati jnana sangena chanagha. So it talks about sukha and jnana. Happiness and knowledge are the characteristics of mode of goodness. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tanni badnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Rajogun, it is characterized by Sanga and Trishna, attraction between man and woman, and Trishna, hankering to get something, over ambitious, over possessive. All this is because of passion, excessive passion. Tamastva ajnana jam vidhi mohanam sarva dehinam pramada alasya nidrabhis tanni bhadnati bharata. So Tamogun is characterized by laziness, sleep, madness, lack of clarity, all these things. There was one angry CEO who blasted in a board meeting the 4 vice presidents in front of the 8 board members and 14 managers. And the result was all of them resigned and left the company. And this guy, he had to shut down his company because all the secrets and all the way of working was with the 4 vice presidents whom he blasted. This is because of passion and ignorance. He could not control his response. Sometimes, and at the same time, there is example of this cool-headed Socrates. Socrates was so powerful and so knowledgeable, so happy in his life. You know, he had a very angry and like short-tempered wife who would. This is a small cartoon which I have put. It's not the original photo of the wife of Socrates. So this wife of Socrates, she started blasting Socrates once in front of his friends, saying that you don't do any practical work. Why don't you go out and work? All the time you're simply discussing some philosophy and all that. And Socrates' friend said that maybe this is not the right place to sit and discuss. Maybe we'll go out. And then they started moving out. And as they started moving out, the wife of Socrates from top floor, she poured a huge bucket of water on Socrates. And Socrates became completely wet with water. And Socrates' friends were watching what is Socrates going to say now to the wife. And Socrates just smiled and said, पहले बादल गरज रहे थे और बादल अब बरस रहे. Earlier clouds were simply roaring, now they are pouring. So he could take this kind of insult because he was quite cool headed, because there was no point in simply becoming more angry and spoiling the situation worse. But we all know what the right response is in situations. How many of you have experienced that even without we knowing what is the right way to act, even we knowing what is the right way to pursue my career, pursue my studies, how to be more regulated, more disciplined, and so many things we many times plan also, we have good intentions, but we struggle to actually accomplish it. We struggle to understand that why am I not able to do it, as if by force I am forced to act in a way which even I don't want. After that particular act is over, after I am unsuccessful, that time I lament that, my god, why did I do this? How many of you ever had this kind of feeling? Can you just tell me in the chat box that you had planned, or you took new year resolutions and you thought that I'll pursue my studies like this, I'll do this in life, and I'll every day I'll do yoga, or I'll keep my body more fitter. And you may have thought of all these, but it stays for 1 or 2 days and then it goes away. And we feel that I want to do it, but I'm unable to do it. Why? So Krishna answers it very beautifully. So Arjuna asks this question to Krishna. This is the question of Arjuna. अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पुरुषः अनिच्छनपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः. Yes. So Arjuna asked this question, Atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. Oh Krishna, what is that force which impels a person to act unwillingly in a sinful manner without he wanting to do that? Anichan, he's not wanting, I'm not wanting to do that, but I'm forced to act in a substandard manner. Baladiva niyojita. What is that force, oh Krishna? And you know what Krishna answers? Krishna says in the next shloka, this comes in the 3rd chapter. I'll share the PPT with all of you, and you all can refer to these shlokas later. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kamaesha Krodhaesha Rajo Guna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhi Enam Iha Vairinam. It is lust only, Arjuna. It is lust and anger which is produced because of lust not being fulfilled. And these two are produced mainly because of mode of passion. Because of this, we are impelled in acting in a wrong way, in a sinful way. So there was one husband and wife who were having a big quarrel, big fight. And in that fight, it went so deep. They went so deep in the fight that the husband lifted the small girl who was 2 years old. And he said angrily to the wife that if you don't stop, I am going to throw your child out of the window. And as soon as the wife heard your child, the wife got so angry and she said, she's not just my child, she's your child also. And the husband could not control his temper and anger at that point and threw the child out of the window. And this came in the newspaper that how this couple was lamenting and crying that they themselves killed the child. So we may not have done something so extreme in anger, but we all also must have had experiences of anger, where in anger we don't even realize with whom am I speaking, what am I speaking, is it really sensible, what am I speaking? And anger, the scriptures in Srimad Bhagavatam, the explanation is given that anger first it comes in the mind, then it comes to the mouth, and you start speaking words, and then it goes to the hand, and then it goes to the leg, and people start fighting. So anger has a beautiful transmission mechanism also. So this is what makes people do something unwilling of their own desire. This is a beautiful picture which I got from the Bhagavad Gita, as it is, where you see that these two fellows, they are having a quarrel with each other, and both of them are thinking that he's responsible for my misery, and this fellow is thinking he is responsible for my misery. But there are three personalities above who are actually like Katputli, like you have seen this Katputlis, Katputli ke jaise inko nacha rahe. So these three personalities are holding these ropes. Do you know what these three personalities represent? These three energies of the Lord represent? What do those three represent? Yes, what we discussed just now, the personality type.
Goodness, passion, and ignorance.
Yes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So this is spoken in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 27th verse. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. This is a very beautiful shloka. It says, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. All that, what the way you are responding, you think you are responding in the way you want, but actually you are responding based on the particular mode in which you are situated. If you are situated in mode of goodness, you will respond in a sattva-guni way. If you are in passion, you will respond in a rajoguni way. If you are in ignorance, you will respond in a tamoguni way. And these three modes is what is called prakriti. Prakriti, the entire nature, entire prakriti, material nature, is composed of these three modes. Okay, I'll give you a small situation tackling exercise. Say 100 people are there in a cinema hall, in a theater, and suddenly it catches fire. The entire hall catches fire. Now, can you tell me, a person in mode of ignorance, how will he respond to the situation? How will he tackle this situation? How will he respond? Kya karega wo? A person in ignorance. So a person in ignorance will have a particular way of response. Passion, he will have a different response, and goodness, he will have a different response. Can you quickly think and tell me? Okay, he will run in panic. Okay, run in panic. Yeah, run in panic is for passion, because he will be active but without a direction, and will blame everyone, keep sitting, start crying, yelling. He's in ignorance. Someone who is in goodness, can you tell someone who is in goodness what will he do? Someone who is in goodness, yeah, he will be calm and he will observe the surroundings, but what action? Because see, it's an emergency situation, it's on fire, you cannot just sit calm. So he'll go out with many others. Yeah, but can you think that a person in goodness, the first thing he will try to solve it? Beautiful, try to solve it. But how does he try to solve it? What is the way out? Try to take in charge, take try to take help of in charge, and take in charge and help others. Okay, search for extinguisher or call the fire brigade. First try to initiate the process which will finish the problem, and then you slowly move out of the place. Exactly. A person in passion, he will be so much in haste that while he moving out, he will crush people, he will start blasting people, he will लोगों से टकराएगा, लोगों को कूद के आगे निकल जाएगा, all that he'll do. So like that. Ignorance, he will not be able to act properly, he will start lamenting. And in goodness, he will start inviting the fire extinguisher or fire brigade or these. Now I'm going to show you why does Krishna say that everything in the world is actually in the three modes. Now you all will yourself see it, and you will be amazed at how everything can be classified in three modes predominantly. There is a predominating mode. Obviously, if in all of our lives there is a mix of modes. Like early morning we may be more in goodness, afternoon we may be more in passion, and night we may be more in ignorance. But there is a predominating mode, the maximum what is there, something like that. Okay, now can you all quickly tell me that all these food items, fresh fruits, vegetables, milk, in which mode they come? These foods are in which mode? Goodness, right? Exactly, this is in goodness. Can you tell me something like very chilly, hot, pakoda, samosa? What mode does this come in? Passion. This comes in passion, right? This is in passion. And what about those food items which are like stale and flies are sitting on it and takes a lot of time to digest, and those kind of foods, they are in ignorance. So you can see how whatever we eat and put in our mouth, it can be in three modes. Okay, animals can be in three modes. What are these carnivorous, violent carnivores? Which mode are they in? These kind of carnivores, which mode they are in? Passion, exactly. So as soon as you see these simple creatures like a deer or a cow or an elephant, herbivores like them, which mode they do belong to? Goodness. And animals like a camel whose eyes are almost closed and who are almost drowsing all the time, sleeping all the time, they are in ignorance, right? So you understand now how every species can be in different modes, foods can be in different modes. Okay, let me talk about environment. Can you tell me in this picture, the leftmost scenic green place, which mode do that belong to? Goodness. A workplace filled with laptops and computers and people working, What is that place more in? That is in passion. And a deserted place, sukha pada hua hai, something like that, it is in ignorance. Like activities can be in various modes. Sleeping is in mode of ignorance. Working in office is mode of passion. And hearing these kind of seminars, this may be called as goodness. Okay, state of mind can also be in three modes. Depressed state of mind, what is that mode? It's in ignorance. A happy state of mind, it's in goodness, right? Age, can you tell me about the age? So young age, it is more in goodness. The age is also in goodness. Old age, it is more in ignorance. That's why people are so confused and unable to know what, why, where are they going, why are they suffering, all that ignorance. And then there is youth, like adulthood, where a person is in college and working and all that. That age is more in passion. You have more energy there. Clothes can be in three modes. Like you wear sattvic clothes, that's in goodness. You wear such clothes which are, like too much exposing or too much trying to attract or trying to show off, that's in passion. And something which is dirty and not washed from so long, and those kind of clothes are in ignorance. Entertainment can be in three modes. So some people gain entertainment by watching movies, that can be in passionate movies. Some people may get entertainment in doing some gardening or swimming, that can be in mode of goodness. And some people may be in mode of ignorance, going to pubs and bars and drinking and smoking, that's in ignorance. Music can be in three modes. Classical music, soothing music, that's in goodness. Heavy metal music, which completely fills the mind with lot of bombardment of sound, that's in ignorance. Now let us like try to conclude this discussion on these three modes by solving this small exercise. Okay, there was a cap seller who was trying to sell his caps, and he slept off once, and monkeys came and took away his caps. So all these monkeys are now sitting on the tree top with his caps. The monkeys are wearing his caps. Now, if this fellow is in mode of ignorance, how will he react? How will he respond to the situation? Can you all quickly tell me on the chat box, how will he respond in a situation where he himself is in ignorance? Yeah, he will keep sitting waiting for the caps to fall. Okay, he will try to beat monkeys, try to shout at monkeys. Yeah, he'll start yelling, shouting, lamenting, crying, and throwing stones at monkeys. And that is in mode of passion, because in passion he will try to chase off the monkeys, try to beat the monkeys, throw stones at the monkeys. That is in passion. Can you tell how will a mode of goodness person act? Okay, okay. How will a mode of goodness person act? He will go away without getting the caps back. Oh, he will give bananas. Beautiful. He will give them food. Yeah, he may throw the bananas, and to catch the bananas, the monkeys may jump and the caps may fall down. Do you know monkeys have another habit? Put his own cap in basket. Who is this? Amit Kumar Meena. Beautiful Amit. So, what is a tendency of monkeys? Monkeys have a tendency to imitate. Do you know this? They do imitation. Nakal utarte hai monkeys, right? So imitation. So if he puts his own cap in a basket, then the other monkeys may also put the cap and throw the cap down if he throws his cap. So that's also possible. Yeah. In Vrindavan, yes. Recently when I went to Vrindavan, my spectacles were taken away by monkeys. So I'm not speaking this just theory, but I have experienced it. And there was one guy, the shop, there was a shop immediately, and my power is too huge, so without spectacles I cannot even see where is my spectacles. So there was a shopkeeper, and he said that don't worry, these monkeys like fruity. Like, yeah, he gave yeah, Ayush is also saying that he gave fruity. Exactly the same thing happened. So he gave fruity, and he said that you that shopkeeper himself went, gave fruity to the monkeys and got the chashma back and gave it to me. So yes, I also experienced the same thing like that. Okay. Now let us discuss what happens with when these three modes are interacting with each other and intersecting each other. So in all of our lives, we are neither purely in goodness, neither purely in passion, neither purely in ignorance. But someone who is predominantly in mode of goodness, like predominantly in mode of goodness, he is an enlightened soul. He is a very pure soul. Someone who is predominantly in passion, that he can be like a commercial man, a businessman who is thinking about profits all the time. Someone who is predominantly in ignorance all the time, he may be considered a criminal, lawbreaker. These people may be in mode of ignorance all the time. Now what happens if there is a mixture of rajoguna and tamoguna? If there is a mixture of two modes, yeah, if there is a mixture of two modes like rajoguna and tamoguna, if these two modes are intersecting, those people are generally selfish because of rajoguna, but but they also harm others, or they are prone to violence, or they may exploit others. They may take something like corruption happens because of people who are in a mixed mode of rajoguna and tamoguna. Okay, if someone is in a mixed mode of sattva and tamo, then these people are very simple minded, but they lack worldly experience, but they are not they're good souls, but they also have laziness factor within them, the tamoguna factor. You know what is the best combination? Can you guess what is the best combination of modes to have? What makes a true leader? How can you become a true leader?
Goodness and passion.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not trio. Trio is because tamoguna is of no use practically. It is actually sattva plus raja. This combination will help us become noble leaders, because sattva will give us right principles, right value system. Sattva will give us right direction, and rajo, the rajasic part, will give us a zeal, enthusiasm, power to execute, power to do actions. So rajoguna gives speed and sattva guna gives direction. So speed and direction both are important, and these kind of leaders are courageous, are bold, at the same time are considerate, they are mature, they are noble, with principle centered. So this is the combination which we are looking for. Personality type should be rajo plus sattva. But even in rajo plus sattva, sattva should be dominant, sattva should guide, and there should be rajoguna or passion in a limited quantity to the degree it can be used. Just like how many of you know that when we want to make gold ornaments, we cannot make gold ornaments with pure gold. We cannot make gold ornaments with 24 karat gold. We cannot make it because it cannot, the hardness component will not come in gold, right? So we need to mix certain impurities or certain other metals. So something we need to mix. So, but that is mixed in a very minute quantity and a measured quantity so that the sattva is utilized properly, like that. Okay. So this is a noble leader who is a mixture of sattva plus rajo. Okay. I'll go ahead a little fast. So where do all these scripts and these behavior types come in us? Because of the association we have with various books, the various movies which we watch, the music which we hear, the friends which we keep, all this develop our scripts, our personality type. Because if you interact more with sattvic people, sattvic movies, sattvic diet, sattvic music, sattvic books, you will develop sattva. If you are associating with passionate movies, passionate people, passionate books, passionate magazines, then you will end up becoming more passionate. So it's all gunas are inbuilt, come into us through association, through sangha. Now let me talk about how can we enhance the mode of goodness within us. By associating with saintly people. Association, A for association. B for books, like studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I was telling all of you that you can add, like, before sleeping every day, one verse I want to read. So that habit can actually bring you to sattva. By meditation, by chanting, by proper diet and exercise, and by keeping a proper ambience and environment. Like suppose you are sitting to study, if you don't spend some time to arrange that place, you cannot be productive in your study. So it is better to sharpen the pencil before using it. That investment of sharpening of pencil will help you write your scripts better. This is the shloka which talks about how to lead a good lifestyle. Krishna says in the 6th chapter, Yuktahara viharasya, Yukta cheshtasya karmasu, Yukta swapnava bodhasya, Yogo bhavati dukkha. Krishna is saying, if you want to live in this world and avoid any suffering in this world, any misery in this world, you should have proper habit of eating, proper habit of sleeping, proper habits of recreation. So what is proper habit? Regulation, regulated eating, regulated sleeping. So regulated eating means quantity, timing, and what do you eat? That also matters. So the entire problem in trying to regulate is our mind. Our mind doesn't allow us, it becomes very fickle. So Arjuna asked this question to Krishna saying that Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoreva sudushkaram. I can control the raging wind, but I am unable to control my restless mind. I want to follow what you are saying, but my mind is not allowing me. So Krishna says in the next verse, actually Krishna says the solution verse is not given, I'll tell it. Krishna says abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. He says that by proper practice, by proper abhyas, and by proper detachment, you need to keep yourself away from unwanted people, unwanted habits, unwanted environments, and all these things. Because if you don't keep away from that, then you can never ever develop the good ones. So you need to supplement it with good ones, but not end up going into the bad track again. So that's why Krishna says in the Gita that mind is your best friend if it is controlled, and mind is your worst enemy if it is uncontrolled. And the purpose, because the reason because which we don't get determination, Krishna reveals in the 2nd chapter. He says, Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam daya aprahita chetasam. He says, because of excessive desire for possessing something, especially something which is against, we know that it is not good for me to do that, but that excessive desire is there. That is why it becomes difficult for us to focus, for us to concentrate, for us to focus on one thing. So if we are equipped with right spiritual knowledge, you know what will happen? Then you will have this vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. You will be pinpointed and focused on your goals, because you know what is worth aspiring and what is not worth aspiring. Vyavasai, you know Vyavasai, what does Vyavasai mean? Vyavasai means business. So this shloka means business like professionalism. You will have business like professionalism in pursuing each of your goals. And that is possible when you know more about yourself and know more about the world, how it operates. So today you came to know about the modes, how modes are present. So this can give you a different vision, a much wise vision to see the world, not just as things are pulling you and things you are getting attracted to things, but you can think, okay, this is rajoguna, what is pulling me. Okay, this is tamoguna. So it means I should immediately try to enhance my sattva to counteract this effect of rajoguna or tamoguna. So you can see around the world things in these modes. So this will be the homework for all of you today, that wherever you sit, whatever you see around, for 5-10 minutes you can do this exercise. and note down. First make columns, Rajoguna, Sattoguna, Tamoguna, and note down whatever you see. Okay, you see a TV screen, some serial going on, it's in Rajoguna. Okay, you see some particular thing which is very unclean in your home, that is Tamoguna. So you will see that you can see everything in these modes, and then you can work in bringing everything to mode of goodness and bringing yourself to mode of goodness. There is a famous shloka of Chanakya where he says how a student should be. He says, Kaka cheshta vapo dhyanam shwana nidra tathaivacha alpahari grihatyagi vidyarthi panchalakshana. So he says one should be like bagula, like swan ke jaisa hamara concentration hona chahiye. Nidra should be like as much as required we sleep, we don't oversleep. And alpahari, we eat as much as it is required. Grihatyagi doesn't mean give up your home. Grihatyagi means give up comfortable position, come in a little stretched zone. Like if you go to a gym, if you say that give me only five grams to lift, then you will never be able to build muscles. And if you start asking for 500 kgs at once, you will start breaking your bones. So the way is be in stretched zone. Do little more than what your current capacity is. That is the way you will slowly increase your capacity. And meditation can help you a lot. There has been extensive research on various meditation techniques, and they say that meditators, the people who meditate, they are transferred into a alpha zone. The brainwave frequencies are in the most efficient and most relaxed and alert zone, alpha zone. And in fact, there was a experiment done on water molecules, and the experiment was about what is the power of sound on water molecules. So he's a Japanese scientist, Emoto. He exposed water with various sounds, and studied the crystal structure. So water at a source of river had beautiful crystal structure, but the same river water, when it became polluted, the entire structure got dismantled. So dirty structure it became. The water exposed to power of sound of prayers. So when you pray, then the water crystal started transforming into this beautiful shape. And when the same molecule before prayer, it didn't have any proper crystalline structure. So yes, so you can see that how even water, which is matter, has so profound effect is there on water of sound. What to speak of consciousness, what to speak of living beings like us. In fact, our body has got a major portion as water, right? I think some 70-80% is water in our body. So this is sound of thank you very much. Then there is sound of classical music. And you can see heavy metal music, there's no crystal structure forming. These are death threatening words like, I will kill you, I will punish you. Adolf Hitler, his sound, you can see the crystal structure is so dirty and no proper shape and no proper symmetry. But when you speak with love and appreciation, when you speak with beautiful music, so they are like diamonds, they are like rings, beautiful crystal structures. The water which was exposed with the essence of chameli flower, the crystal structure also resembled like chameli. So the same molecule before prayer and after prayer had so much difference. So meditation can actually help us a lot. So in our future sessions, one session, the next Saturday, I'll be taking a session on discovering our true identity. That is about the spiritual wisdom given in Bhagavad Gita. And the Sunday session will be on meditation. Like we'll talk about a practical meditation technique for this age. So in this way, like what all I am discussing today, these will be elaborated as various sessions in future. Okay. And this one particular part I have added for all of you aspiring doctors, especially because I know your schedules are very hectic, and that's why we are only conducting sessions on weekends. And you have normal college life is also very hectic. So I thought, let me also give you some tips on managing your time well. How can you become a plus time manager? So I'll also speak on this. And the principles are also based on Gita, but I have translated it into management terms and practical terms, so for all of us to uh, relate with it much better. Okay, how many of you have faced issues with managing your time? You feel this will really help you? Can you just type in the chat box and tell me? Okay, so so let me tell you who a plus time manager is and who a minus time manager is. So we have three things essentially everyone needs to do. One is planning, one is doing, and one is interacting. So there may be people who may be very good at planning but not so good at execution and interaction. There may be people who are very good at doing things but they are not good at planning things, or they are not good at working in a team. And there may be people who are very good at interacting but not so good at planning and execution. Now a plus time manager, now what we will do is we will write plus for any one activity, plus for any one activity which we are good at, and minus for what we are not good at. So suppose you are good at all three, then you are plus plus plus. Suppose you are good at planning and doing but not at interacting, then you are plus plus minus. So like that. So any manager who is good at least two, which means he has at least two plus within him, he's called a plus time manager. So now I'll tell you honestly, I am very good at planning and I am also very good at interacting, but I am not so good. I can manage some execution, but not so good at execution. So if I write about myself, so similarly, all of you can think about yourself and write in the chat box about what is your which kind of manager you are. So mine is plus, maybe minus, and maybe plus. Okay, plus 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 is not so easy. Like uh, so, yeah. So all of you wrote yours. So if you have at least two plus, then you are a plus time manager. If you have only one plus or zero plus, then you are minus time manager. Now I will show you. Okay, all of you have written. Now I will show you uh, what kind of style you must be having if you have what plus and what minus. Like suppose someone is very good at planning and doing, but and also at interacting, then he's a very balanced person. He's a very balanced person. Someone who is very good at planning and execution but not at interaction, he's an individual player. He cannot work well in a team. He may be able to do his own things very well. Someone who is very good at doing and interacting but not good at planning, he may not be able to prioritize his own things. He may be able to do other things very well. And someone who is good at planning and interacting but not good at execution, he may be able to lead a team but not be able to execute things himself much. Like that, he may be having very good intentions. Now if you are a minus time manager, then either you are a daydreamer, or you are a workaholic, or you are a people friendly but poor at finishing work. I'll show you what it is. If you have only planning as plus, then you are a daydreamer, because neither you do interaction, neither you do execution. If you only do and neither plan, neither interact, you are a workaholic. You are sure to be stressed out. And if you only plan, if you only interact and neither plan nor do, then you are incompetent. Even though you are very delightful in interacting and gossiping, but you are quite incompetent in your work then. So that's why any one of us who is in minus time management, we should at least try to come to plus time management and slowly try to become a balanced person. Now how do you manage your time well? A lot depends on how much happiness do you experience. Because if you are very happy and very contented, then you will not hanker for something unwanted. You will not be angry and you will not be upset with people. You will be very serene, calm, cool, collected, because happiness is in mode of goodness. But do you know what happiness also depends on some things? Happiness depends on uh, dopamine, endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin. these all various hormones which are there in the body, see, when these are secreted, there's a feeling of sense of completion, there's a feeling of healthy and joyful state, there's a feeling of selfless contribution, there's a feeling of social connection. But you know what happens when we work too much on social media, gadgets and all that? These hormonal balance is disturbed, and because of that we are not happy, we are not in goodness. And because of that, our sleep, our sleep, our happiness, our health, our relationships are all very important for a satisfactory life. So if we want to manage our time well, it is not just about our intention to manage our time well, but it is also that we need to come to goodness and be happy, and not spend too much time on gadgets and media and all this, because these are scientific researches which have proved about these hormonal balances which happen in the body. So practically, how can we manage time? By understanding these quadrants and choosing in which quadrant we should work in. So there are some things which are important, and some are not important, and some are urgent and some are not urgent. So you have 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is the quadrant of action. Like, you have assignment deadlines, and you have last date submissions and all these things. You have last moment studies for your exams. Exam is there tomorrow. Then all these kind of things come in the quadrant of action, the first quadrant. You need to immediately respond to those. There are some called as quadrant of deception. They are not important, but they are urgent. Your mobile is ringing. It's urgent, but it's not important. It's customer care who is calling. Or someone is knocking at the door, and you opened the door and you saw that it's a salesman. It was not important, but it was urgent. You had to respond to it. So these kind of deceiving things in our life, we should try to delegate them and try to not do it ourselves. Because when we delegate it and minimize it, you will see that much of your time is saved. And there are some things which are in quadrant of waste. I will not speak what is in quadrant of waste. Can you all quickly tell me what comes in 4th quadrant? Can you tell me some activities, some events which we can say that they are neither important, neither urgent, but we uselessly waste time in that? So that is called quadrant of waste. Okay, gossip, social media. Okay, so scrolling Insta. So this is nothing but you only need to do one press of a button, and that is called delete button, because it doesn't contribute to us in any way. And you know, the time management success is if you can focus on quadrant number 2. What is quadrant number 2? Quadrant number 2 is things which are not urgent, but they are important. Like, you may not understand the importance of doing yoga, keeping a healthy lifestyle, doing meditation. You may not understand the importance of reading wisdom literatures. You may not be able to understand the importance of studying much before exams. But if you focus on quadrant number 2, what is going to happen? You are going to minimize the quadrant number 1, because you will have less emergency situations in your life. And secondly, you can decide what is the direction of your life you want to choose. So quadrant number 2 involves training, education, and planning, and self-development, and relationship building. All this comes in quadrant number 2. So this is the quadrant number 2 which all of us should focus on. And we all must introspect that we can be successful only when we have both aspects. A personal life, relationships bring joy, and in professional life, results bring joy. So we need relationships and results both. So passion plus goodness. So this is a very beautiful video. So I'll just share this small video with all of you. And
not a different hour. What is the secret
are you able to hear the voice
behind it?
Yes,
Are you all
sir.
able to hear?
Well, they know how their brain works, and they take advantage of their brainwave states and brain chemistry. The brain produces electrical patterns, often referred to as waves. When you're first awake, your brain operates at around 10.5 waves per second. The range from 8 to 13 hertz, or cycles per second, is the alpha stage, It's been called the gateway to the subconscious mind. But when you wake up this early, you are between theta and alpha. The mind is capable of deep and profound learning, being fully aware and focused with an effortlessly calm mind. In other words, you don't have to work as hard. You are not thinking. You just relax into the moment. Another important fact known by all successful people is when you wake up, your subconscious mind is most impressionable and soaks up information like a sponge. Whatever you hear, see, or are exposed to in the first 20 minutes will affect you and set the tone for the rest of your day. This is why they meditate, listen to affirmations, and not checking their social media and emails so early. They choose consciously their tone of the day, being focused and positive and not being distracted. They choose to go to bed early and use the premature hours of each day in their own advantage. They make up a routine of waking up before the sun starts to shine and go to sleep after the sun goes down. Why do they go to bed so early? Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is where you can get the most from regenerative and deep sleep. After 2 a.m., sleep lacks the quality that you need as it becomes more superficial, chronically depriving your body of the regenerative sleep which you can enjoy between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. makes you wake up in the morning even more tired than when you went to bed. If you are among those that usually fall asleep well past 10 p.m., you should consider changing the situation. Set up a goal to go to bed earlier by 15 to 30 minutes each week until you hit 10 p.m. bedtime goal. Early risers like Apple CEO Tim Cook, Oprah Winfrey, and Dwayne Johnson choose to greet the day at the crack of dawn because that's where motivation is created, and they don't need to ask for it. That silence of early morning hours is what helps them use their potential to the maximum. Successful people choose to use every minute available in a day because their life's purpose is higher than any other short-term pleasure or comfortable bed mattress. They instill this habit of waking up early in their DNA because they understand how a strong and consistent routine can support a successful life. The human brain can work at its maximum potential when it doesn't have to multitask. The quality level of work is highly dependent on the level of focus. When there are no distractions and noises to disturb concentration, the brain has a great capacity to focus on certain tasks and thus generate.
Yeah. Was the audio not audible?
It was audible.
It was audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll just see one more minute is there.
Why are in their DNA dependent on the level of focus? When there are no distractions and noises to disturb concentration, the brain has a great capacity to focus on certain tasks and thus generate a balanced rate between quality and work. Successful people are aware of this and they use their alone time in the early morning to take full advantage of their brain's functioning capacity. High achievers understand that premature hours of the day allow them to make better decisions as their energy levels are at their peak. Those who live a grand life understand that early morning willpower helps them to achieve high levels of discipline. A disciplined morning guides them towards a whole day of discipline. And this is exactly what supports their successful life. As soon as the alarm goes off, you're facing a bump in the road and it's up to you to get over it or not. It's up to you to decide whether you use your time in your advantage or not. When everybody else is still dreaming and sleeping in their comfortable beds, it's your time to shine. It's your time to get out of your comfortable zone and have that well-deserved breakthrough. The early morning hours are moments where you can be ahead of things without being distracted. It's a time where you can focus and pay attention to what really matters.
So, yeah, to tell you very honestly, I've been getting up before 4 o'clock from almost 8 years. And I can tell you that by the time 10 o'clock morning happens, it's like as if I have done an entire day of work from 4 to 10. And then you have the entire day still remaining. So I would really suggest each one of you also to make small changes. What I said, atomic changes. I would not suggest any one of you to start getting up at 4 o'clock if you were getting up at maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, because that change will not be so healthy for the body. But you can start shifting your schedule by 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour and stick to that. And slowly, then you can reverse the clock. So So mind, the problem is the mind. So mind will say, I like to sleep in cozy bed, especially in winter. But intelligence should say that, okay, sleep that is available even for a polar bear. Let me do something much better and productive so that I can achieve my goals, I can become successful, I can pursue my ambitions, I can become a better human, I can contribute in others' life. So this is intelligence. Intelligence has to be rational. It cannot just go with what thoughts mind gives. And to end with, this is the last slide. Uh, this change of our behavior or our personality is not going to happen overnight. It is this. These are the 4 levels of behavior change. How the behavior change is accomplished. So I'll give you an example of riding cycle. So before you learned how to ride a cycle, whomever you saw on the street riding a cycle, you felt as if cycling would be damn easy, man. You just have to sit on it and start, and you will be able to do it. But the moment you sat on a cycle for the first time, you realize that, hey, come on, it is not so easy to balance. I'm falling this side and that side. So from unconscious incompetence, which means that you were not even conscious that you were incompetent, you came to a higher level, which is conscious incompetence. Now you know that you are not competent, but then you start working for it. And when you start working for it, then you start becoming consciously competent. When you ride the cycle with great care and attention, you are able to. And then finally you come to a stage of unconscious competence where you are so expert that you can leave one hand, then you can leave two hands, and you can change direction of the cycle on the road without even holding it. Don't try this at home. But this is the meaning, like you perfect your attitude and behavior to that degree that now it becomes your second nature. Similar experience I had, you will have in every field. That, like, typing is a very typical example. Like when I used to see my sisters typing, I used to think that typing must be quite easy, like people type. But when first time I held a keyboard, I realized that even to type my name, I am taking like 15-20 seconds to search the alphabets. And I'm very sure all of you also must have had this experience with laptops and computers. But then you slowly started doing it and started becoming attentive. And when you paid attention on the keyboard, you were able to type. But a stage comes, if you keep on doing that, where you don't need to even look at the keyboard and you can type. So that is unconscious competence. So thank you all very much for your attentive hearing. So today, essentially, we discussed 3 things. First was the book of life. How do we write the book of life? The past is past, but the future is in our hand. And we also discussed about how what is the power of compounding, how atomic changes can bring a large difference over years. And then we looked at personality types. That was the whole focus of the session today. Rajoguna, Sattoguna, Tamoguna. And I discussed it from Gita. I discussed it from daily life examples, how everywhere these gunas are there. And we saw so many examples in this situation tackling exercises. And then we discussed about some solutions. How do we come to goodness? A, B, C, D, E. Association, books, chanting and meditation, diet, and environment, the environment in which we are there. And then we also saw about water crystal shapes changing because of sound. So we saw the power of meditation, sound. And finally we came to this part of managing our time well. We talked about plus time manager, minus time manager, and quadrants. And then finally we concluded that we should focus on the quadrant of quality, the second quadrant, the activities which may not be urgent, but they are very important. If we focus on that, then we will be different from the crowd which exists in the world. We will be very special in our way of working and everything. And finally, I discussed how does behavior change finally manifest, and that manifests through the 4 levels of competence. Okay. So thank you all very much. In fact, I took little more time today, but I thought that anyway we are meeting only on Saturdays and Sundays. So we will have around 1 hour 15-minute sessions on Saturdays and Sundays. I hope this time is comfortable with all of you. The same time 7:30 to 8:45 this time. Okay, any one of you want to ask anything, any questions or any comments? So I hope that today's session you got a lot of practical things to work on. But I'll tell you one thing, the most important part is now all of your part. What is all of your part? See, I am introducing you to various things, various concepts and learnings and experiences. But all of you also need to work, like I'll be sending the PPT. You need to go through it, see it, and at least one thing, two things, what you can apply in your life. What do you think that what you can start with? How do you start bringing a transformation in your life? You plan it and you start it small steps, take baby steps, but start it at some level, and you will realize that it will slowly help you a lot. Okay, so today what we discussed was like practical applications from the Bhagavad Gita. And next session, what we will discuss on next Saturday will be the spiritual science mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So next session will be discover your true identity. So Bhagavad Gita's major contribution and the most exclusive contribution is to reveal to us what our true identity is, and how can, because if we know who we are truly, then we can actually situate ourselves in our true nature, and that is how we can become fully happy. So any of you want to ask anything? Yeah, thank you, Ayush. Yeah, what atomic changes can we do in our studies to concentrate and learn better? A very nice question, Ishita. So like many a times I have noticed, see, all of you are very bright students. You must already be thinking of many ways to improve your studies. But in fact, I am also writing, like I should not say writing, but I'm compiling a book on habits for students. So, so hopefully I'll do it in few months. I'm working on it. And in that, I'm going to talk a lot about these atomic habits and these things. So, see, some things, see, I'll share with you some principles, not immediately. I'll share with you some principles maybe the next time when we meet. But some things what I have observed with this online studies going on, that because it is online, so people hardly focus on making any notes. People hardly focus on choosing a right place to sit and attentively hear, a right posture. See, it's not that winners do different things. They do the same things differently. What it means is they give attention to small details. If you are sitting in an undistracted place with a table and a chair, when no distraction is there, and then you attend a class, even online classes, it will go in. See, now honestly tell me, isn't it that anyway you have to spend that 2 hours 3 hours of that professor class? You have to anyway spend that time. You cannot do anything else that time. Why not give our best in that? You know, one thing which has helped me a lot is I have not tried to 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 do a lot in my life, but whatever I do, I try to do it with quality, even in my studies. So you will be amazed that the GATE rank which I got in electronics and communication 44 is not an ordinary rank, because 4 lakh students write it, and there's a lot of competition in electronics. I only studied for 2 months for that, and there are students who prepare for that for almost a year and 2 years and 3 years and like that. But those 2 months I was very focused. So I would say focus on quality work, quality job. That is called smart work. And also you can start putting smart goals in your studies. What are smart goals? Smart goals means when you study, don't just think that I'll study in the evening. When you say you want to study, you have to tell that I want to study in the evening from this time to this time, this particular chapter. I'm going to solve the problems of these chapters, or I'm going to study the class notes of these chapters. Because if you give too many options to the mind tends to become diffused and distracted. So So these are what are the techniques, how you should train the mind. You should not give much options to the mind. You should be very specific. So smart means specific. First S is specific. M means measurable. Never ever say that today I will study. Say how much, quantify it. When you quantify it, then you can actually do it efficiently, because you have something to be measured. SMA. A means I just need to reflect once what is A exactly. I'm not recollecting it. R means realistic. R means don't keep goals which are like out of 24 hours you have planned for 24 hours. Then you will be frustrated, because you need buffer zones. You need some short naps in middle. You need some buffer zones to cover up something which you could not, some part of schedule which you could not manage. So R means being realistic in your goals, and T means being time bound. Time bound means, okay, measurable means you quantify it in terms of the amount of chapters, the number of problems, but time bound means the timing also should be fixed, which time of the day you are going to do. So these kind of smart goals, putting smart goals and pursuing it, I would suggest don't make too big a plan, and don't plan for like months and months, but plan for a day, plan for 2 days and execute it. So gain confidence by because when do you gain confidence? When you take a resolution, make a plan and fulfill that plan. That is how your confidence increases. Do you know there's a research on alarm clocks which says that people are losing confidence because of alarm clocks. You may say, sir, how do people lose confidence because of alarm clocks? People are losing determination because of alarm clocks. You know why? Because the day starts by disobeying your own decision which you took last night. Last night you thought that you will get up at 5 o'clock, you kept an alarm, you slept, and morning at 5 o'clock you are saying that I don't value my own decision which I took just few hours before the last night. So better, if you want to get up at 6 o'clock, put an alarm at 6 o'clock and wake up at 6 o'clock, instead of putting it at 5 o'clock and then snoozing and snoozing and snoozing and finally getting up at 6 o'clock. Because this attitude of snoozing will not just be with alarm clock, but it will also come in your own life. So if we take care of small things, that's what I mean to say by atomic changes. Atomic changes doesn't mean you do need to completely transform something, shift something, not like that. But in your own environment, in your own place, in your own practices, you see what little can I make better? What little things can I make better? Okay, before going for my breakfast, let me memorize some particular formulas. Let me bring that into my habit. Like that, many things you may do. I hope I answered you. Who had asked this? I hope I gave you some tips which you can apply like very readily. Okay, I think it was asked by
Sir, Ishrita Agarwal.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I think we'll end it here. So thank you, and we'll meet next Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Vipul. Thank you, Suman. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Ayush. Santosh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ishita. Thank you, Sachin. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.